Welcome back to Inventing Construction. I'm Ross Griffin and I'm here with Elia Gonzalez-Salas. And today we're going to talk about data. This is going to be a short episode, but we feel it's hugely important because data, information, everything that it entails, standard structures, etc., is all super important for QSs and quantity surveyors. And we've been talking about it a lot, but we just wanted to maybe take a short episode to describe exactly what it is we're talking about. So our topic today is data. Subtopics will be what's the difference between data and information? Have we got some examples of data for quantity surveyors in our everyday working life? And then kind of how do we structure this data in order to get what we need from it? So Elia, can you introduce this topic to us? So data, what are we talking about here?
I'm going to start with the basics, which is the definition of data. I think that starting point is important, right? So data, the first definition I just found here on the internet, it is described as facts and statistics collected together for reference or analysis. As simple as that. So yes, facts and statistics that we collect and then we analyze.
So what's the difference then between data and information?
Like, I guess that are we talking the same when we talk data and what we call information? Well, actually not, because information, and then I will go again and I will just read a description of it, right? Information is a group of data that collectively carries a logical meaning. So let's say information is actually data together.
So you can...
And that's what makes sense. That's what gives meaning. Data alone, isolated, meaningless. When you put it together, that's when it starts making sense.
So you could have a group of data on the left hand, a group of data on the right hand. They mean nothing until you put them together. Quantities on their own mean nothing without the unit of measure, because quantities is just a number, right? 100 is just a number. We don't know what that is. Is it linear meter, cubic meter, yard, foot, fridges, microwaves? We've no idea.
Indeed, you may have a lot of quantities from a project and a lot of quantities from the other project. And when you try to analyze that, you can, but you may be getting totally wrong results because you are not really comparing the same thing in this case, right? If it has different units of measurements, different currencies.
So we talk about data being the new gold, the new black. It's the gold of the construction industry right now. But actually what we're saying is that it's information, data put together, that is really the power behind this new way of working, this new informed process we talk about.
Exactly, but like it goes to the basis. So you cannot have good information if you had bad data. So that's why when we talk data and data management, that's the starting point. And from there you build all your layers of quality to actually achieve good information in the end.
So examples for quantity surveyors and cost managers, again, quantities against units of measure. What other kind of data are we talking about here from construction projects, day-to-day, everyday life of a QS?
It goes beyond that, of course. So now we talk a lot of data and we are getting vast amounts of data from all the, for instance, 3D models. So we get a lot of quantities, we get a lot of properties, we get a lot of dimensions, dates, revisions, a lot of data from there, but it goes beyond the quantities, it goes beyond the cost, the rates, and it goes beyond the unit of measurements. It also means the data applied to quantity surveyors, right? It has different shapes. It can be dates. It can be minutes of meetings. It can be decisions. That's also data, procurement strategies.
So project information, project location.
Project information in like with all the different dimensions. Now, dimension will be another of these terms, right, that we are talking about when we talk data. And it is very important to identify what are those dimensions, what are those facts that you need to collect as part of the data of your day-to-day, and then
standardizing. So just a minute on the data and the collection, right? So where I'm a quantity surveyor, cost manager. I'm working on a project. I'm working in a company right now. we don't collect data per se. We do our everyday tasks. So how do I start here? Where do I begin when I want to collect data? I want that data to inform me. I want it to be information.
You are producing data. You are also receiving data. Now you are hoarding all the data in multiple ways, in multiple shapes. So I think that the starting point is maybe to have the data digitized. Why? Because that's how you will be able to process it. That's how you will be able to analyze. Going back to the definition of data, data is to be analyzed, is to be processed. So that will be a starting point. Digitize it. Now start linking all the data together to create information. So you have your dates. Is that the date of the project execution? Is that the date of your report issuing? So you will end up with a lot of dates, but you don't know what are they associated what are they associated with. Now how you do all this, like creating databases. Now there is, of course, that will be like the ideal scenario, but there is a lot of middle stages to actually be able to utilize all this data, project after project, and then across your entire portfolio.
As you're talking there, it keeps reminding me of ICMS, because ICMS is not just a cost breakdown structure. It also requires you to collect project parameters and project information, again, like location, project type, under these set criteria. So obviously, to collect data is not just about collecting data, right? You need to structure this data somehow. And behind that structure, you need some type of standard, I guess, right? Mm-hmm.
Actually, I believe they describe or they define ICMS as a reporting standard with, of course, all the facts and all the data behind it, right? And this is a good example to take to try to explain this. They have certain parameters that you need to gather, for example, seismic zone or logistic access or procurement strategy, and then inside these parameters, when possible, there is an identification of different options. Everybody works with Excel. If you are listening this podcast and you are familiar with a drop down, this is a limited list of options. This is just to try to limit the possibilities of how you fill this information to try to start creating data quality, cleaning that data, so we don't get very creative on how we name the things, and then we can actually compare them utilizing machines without language recognition, right?
And this is the analyzing of the data. Again, your data set becoming a bit bigger. Let's just hypothetically say it's a school. The school is located in Dublin or Copenhagen. Suddenly you can realize that it is a primary school, the area of it, the consultants, the procurement strategy, et cetera, et cetera. You're collecting all this data so that the next school you do, you can overlay the information and begin to analyze that information across projects, also on the project as well, if necessary. So to standardize that data and structure that data is vitally important to the quality of it.
Mm-hmm. That's an example, the category and subcategory of your building function. Ideally, you don't create, when possible, you don't create all these standard options or standard choices like internally, because there is many different standard systems out there, ISO, ICMS, there is many different bodies. And even though there are multiple choices to choose from, my advice is try to go for the most extended used internationally, not locally, but internationally, because it will be very much necessary. And I believe we've talked also in previous episodes. Every client or every project might have its own requirements on how to structure the data, and that is all right. As advisors, we will encourage them to go for international option. If it is something that is very, rooted and it will break their system, then you can always map these standards. And that's the point, that by always using a standard way of naming things, a standard list of choices to choose from when filling the parameters of your project data, you can always map it to other standards.
And you improve the quality of it. The more variances you create individually moves away from the standard, and then it becomes more difficult to analyze that data later to get that information you need to be informed about the project, etc. But no.
And when we talk mapping, just to go and describe that as well, mapping will be like to identify this equals that on this in this standard equals that in the other standard, and in these days it's quite easy to just create your template and then automatically
Just-
change
it's just
all
a
these
code
values
structure,
with the computer, right?
Yeah.
With processing that.
Yeah. So data
mechanically.
hugely important, but obviously data on its own is not good enough. That data needs to be connected to other data. That creates information. That information allows you as the cost manager, QS, to be more informed about the project and then to advise your client, to analyze, to report, et cetera, et cetera. So
And data is not just the quantities
not
or
just
the
the quantities,
cost.
yeah.
The data is many different variables, as we've been mentioning in some of the examples while talking, and also variations of those variables along the time. So the different revisions and how that information has changed along the time duration of your project. That is also very much valuable, because that will allow to analyze later the impact of those
evolution.
changes, the impact of those changes in the other dimensions that are linked together as part of the information package.
very good. Thank you very much for that. I think it's much more clear in my head now what data, information, the differences and the standards available to us. But of course, you're always welcome to reach out on LinkedIn. We're happy to help people and just to chat as well about this stuff, and more importantly for us to learn and for you guys to learn from us as well. Thanks very much.
Definitely, this is how we understand data. But if you have a different point of view or a different approach to it, we are also very much welcome to hear about it.
Yeah. Thanks, Ilya. Thanks very much for listening. There's a LinkedIn link below in the show notes. We would love to connect with you.
We hope you enjoyed it and have you with us in the next one. Thank you very much.